We move on here to our Seattle Mariners, who continued on a tough East Coast road trip, finishing that out, and they will be back in Seattle today, Monday, May 22nd. They continued that road trip after being out in Detroit. They headed out to Boston. They shipped out to Boston May 15th, beginning that series. 3-game set with a 10-1 win. So things were going good. Our player of the game was catcher Cal Raleigh, 3 hits, 3 runs, and 4 RBIs for a multi-homer day. Cal Raleigh became the first catcher in history at Fenway Park to hit a home run from both sides of the plate, as he is a switch hitter. He did hit one over the green monster. And if you saw any of that, there was a Red Sox fan who flipped him the double bird after that ball sailed over the green monster. So that was kind of funny to watch. But things were looking good. It was the Mariners' offense has kind of petered along throughout the course of the season. So for them to really get in there against Boston and jump all over Red Sox pitcher Tanner Houck was great to see. That kind of win is nice, and especially starting a series against Boston, who's been one of the better offensive teams in all of baseball to begin the year as well. So to hold them to 1 run outside of the fact that the Mariners scored 10 runs is a big deal. Excuse me. May 16th, the second game in Boston in that series was a 4-9 loss. So not as much of that from game 1 continuing. I played the game right fielder Teoscar Hernandez. Teo, 2 hits, 1 run, 2 RBIs, including a triple in that game, but Seattle just not enough. And the pitching staff wasn't able to do enough in that game as well to hold, again, that really good Boston offense to a lower number. And that set up a nice rubber match. You think, okay, both teams have won blowouts on back-to-back games. What's going to happen in game 3? Boston had a big blowout in game 3 to take that series. May 17th, a 3-12 victory for the Red Sox. Our player of the game, second baseman who shifted over to shortstop, Jose Caballero. Caballero, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 RBI, and 2 walks on the day. Cabby continuing to be effective when he comes into the game, whenever he needs to be. That would send the Mariners down to Atlanta to battle the best team in the National League and one of the best teams in baseball over the past 3 years or so, the Atlanta Braves. Things didn't start out too great. May 19th, the series would begin in the A, 2-6 loss. Our player of the game, right fielder Teoscar Hernandez, 2 hits, 1 run. No, pardon me, 2 hits and an RBI. Tough one there. This one was relatively tight for a decent bit of time, but Atlanta was able to pull away and start the series off with a victory of their own. On May 20th, in the second game of the series, Seattle would even things up in a comeback effort with a 7-3 win. Our player of the game, third baseman A. Eugenio Suarez. Gino brought the good vibes and 3 runs across, 2 hits, 2 runs, and 3 RBIs, including a 2-run homer to put the stamp on this victory. Logan Gilbert struggled relatively early, but was able to rebound, and so was the Mariners offense, as they're able to hang 7 runs on Atlanta. So that was nice to see. May 21st at the Braves, though, in the rubber match of the series, was a 7-3 victory. A 2-3 loss. I'm all over the place. A 2-3 loss. Our player of the game, second baseman Jose Caballero, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 RBI, 1 walk, and 3 stolen bases on the day. So again, another instance where Seattle was relatively quiet offensively, and just not able to generate enough, and another 1-run loss for the team to send Seattle back home with a 4-5 record on that road trip, which isn't the worst thing in the world. We'll talk about it more in a second, but first we have our player of the week, and just mentioning his name, we're going to go straight to Jose Caballero with this photo by Liz Wolter. In the last 7 games, 15 at-bats, 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 homer, his first MLB homer in Atlanta, 3 RBIs, 5 walks, 3 stolen bases, and a .267 batting average. While those numbers don't necessarily jump off the page, Caballero has been able to come in, provide solid defense at the infield position, whether he's been playing at shortstop or second base, and has been effective as Colton Wong has struggled early in the season. Sam Haggerty hasn't been able to come in and have an impact like he did last year, and Dylan Moore continues to work back from an injury that he suffered last season. So props to Caballero. Again, the batting average doesn't necessarily jump off the page. The hitting numbers over the past 7 games aren't anything crazy per se. Just a few days ago, Ty France had I believe it was a 14-game hitting streak ended. But Caballero has been able to come in, a guy that some thought might make the opening day roster, not be able to do so, head down to Tacoma, wait that out, and then get his contract selected, and be essentially a mainstay with the Mariners roster ever since then. He's been a big help. But looking at the road trip, I mean, a 4-5 record on that road trip, at Detroit, you probably should have won all of those games in Detroit. Boston and Atlanta, those are two good ball clubs. But I mean, if we look at it here, the Boston series, it's hard to equate that because the two losses that you suffered were both blowouts. That's just unfortunate to look at. We look at the Atlanta series. That game one kind of got away from you, unfortunately. That's something where the pitching staff has to be better all around. And then in game 3, just not being able to get enough runs across to win that one, another 1-run loss. The 1-run losses, everybody talks about, the Mariners can't win these games as much anymore. When they were doing so at a historic rate the last 2 years, something that no team has ever done and wasn't sustainable. So it needs to kind of be removed from the mind that the Mariners are just going to be able to click it and find that magic again to start winning these 1-run games in uncanny fashion. It just wasn't sustainable. It wasn't going to continue to happen. It was surprised that it even happened last year as much as it did. And you can attribute that to resilience or fight or whatever you have. But the rate at which they won those 1-run games was not sustainable. It was not. Getting into that many situations, they need to get better offensively, and they haven't really done that to this point in the season. So they just need to get better offensively. We've talked about this for the last 3 years or so, and it just hasn't really improved too much. So that continues to be an issue. I can harp on it all I want, but it continues to be an issue, and it hasn't been solved yet, really. So we look over here in injury news. I know I mentioned Dylan Moore. On the 17th of May, Dylan Moore began a rehab assignment with the Everett Aqua Sox. In the 3 games that he's played to this point, as of today, the 22nd, he's had 8 at-bats, 2 hits, 1 run, 2 total bases, 1 RBI, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts so far. Nothing too crazy with Demo there, but obviously the biggest thing is not necessarily posting these big, great numbers, but making sure that he's able to do what the Mariners want him to do, and he's able to get fully back to strength and not deal with any setbacks like he has previously this season. So that's about it for team-related news and such. The team has just kind of continued to roll on. We don't really have too much injury-related wise or roster-related wise as things continue on. Prelander Baroa was in the clubhouse over the past few days, but there was no roster move made, so that might have been a precautionary thing. We might see something in this Oakland series, but I doubt it. I feel, we'll see. We'll keep you updated, of course, in case something like that does happen. It's a great reminder to follow us on social media for something like that. But anyways, looking ahead, the Mariners, following that 9-game road trip, get to come back home and have a nice long homestand in the friendly confines of T-Mobile Park, starting with a 4-game set against the Oakland Athletics. All 4 of those games are starting at 6:40 p.m. Pacific time, which is kind of interesting. All 4 of them, May 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, will all be against the Athletics, all of them here at T-Mobile Park, and all of them starting at 6:40 p.m., which is, again, kind of interesting, but not the biggest deal in the world. Considering just how bad the Athletics have been this season, and the fact that the Mariners let things slip while the Astros were slipping in the division and missing a grand opportunity, Seattle likely needs to take all of these games against this Athletics team, and there should be no reason why they don't. Following that Athletics series, they will continue to stay home, and they will host the Pittsburgh Pirates for a rare visit here in Seattle, May 26th through 28th. May 26th is a 7:10 p.m. Pacific time game, while May 27th and 28th are 1:10 p.m. Pacific time games, Saturday and Sunday. The 27th is J.P. Crawford Funko Pop night, which is one of the cooler Funko Pops I've ever seen. It might just be because it's JP. But 4-game set against the Oakland Athletics starting tonight, and then 3 games against the Pittsburgh Pirates lasting through Sunday.